Barrage balloons at Camp Tyson, Tennessee, were used during World War II to deter bomber attacks by obstructing pilots' visibility and blocking low-flying aircraft. French Army Wine Depot at Moudros, Lemnos, Greece, c. 1915 before Gallipoli. Hundreds of wine barrels are neatly stacked beside military encampments. A man demonstrates a wire frame ball retriever while wearing a cage-like protective suit designed to shield golf caddies from being struck by golf balls. The cyclomer, an amphibious bicycle invented in Paris in 1932. Hollow pontoon wheels kept it afloat, while fins on the rear wheel propelled it through water. A massive pile of American bison skulls in Michigan collected after the near extermination of the species in the 19th century. The bones were processed for fertilizer and industrial products. Traditional Georgian Vevri, giant clay vessels buried underground for winemaking. This 8,000-year-old method is recognized by UNESCO as cultural heritage. Workers move bulky garment racks through the crowded sidewalks of New York City's garment district, transporting clothing between factories and shops. British archaeologist Howard Carter examines the sarcophagus of Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings, Egypt. A German shepherd wearing a gas mask during World War I. The specially designed mask protected military dogs from poisonous gas on the battlefield. Disneyland employees dressed as Snow White, Goofy, and an astronaut take a break and enjoy a meal in the staff cafeteria. Reynolds performs a perilous balancing act on two tilted chairs atop a table set on a chimney, high above the streets of New York City. Women at Douglas Aircraft's Long Beach factory assemble and finish transparent plexiglass nose sections for Douglas A-20 Havoc bombers during World War II. Dagen H. Day in Sweden, the historic traffic switch when the country changed from left-hand to right-hand driving, marking a major nationwide road transition. This image shows Laika inside the Sputnik 2 capsule before launch. First living creature in orbit, she was sent into Earth orbit by the Soviet Union on November 3, 1957. A large group of Soviet young pioneers in St. Petersburg, Russia, taking part in a civil defense drill, with many children wearing gas masks. A knocker-up in London, England, hired to wake workers before alarm clocks were reliable or affordable, ensuring they got up on time for work. Dr. Rufus B. Weaver stands beside the human nervous system specimen he prepared, known as Harriet, created in 1888 from the body of Harriet Cole, a medical school attendant. A man uses an early roller skate design from around 1910, powered by pedals like a small bicycle with spoked wheels instead of simple foot-propelled skating. Hugo Gernsback, American publisher and inventor, known as the father of science fiction, wearing his 1963 TV glasses, an early precursor to virtual reality. Jack, a trained Chakma baboon, assisted railroad signalman James Edwin Wide, who had lost both legs, operating signal levers. Jack was paid 20 cents a day and beer weekly. Ku Klux Klan members in ceremonial robes riding an amusement attraction at a public event in Colorado, USA. A barren desert that would later become the Las Vegas Strip, with a sign advertising a hotel development site for sale for $3,000. Outdoor trading market on Broad Street, Manhattan, New York City, with Gilded Age skyscrapers, horse-drawn carriages, and crowded pedestrian traffic. A W-1 soldier wearing splinter goggles and a steel cap under his helmet, along with a steel gauntlet with an integrated dagger for close-quarters trench combat. Margaret Hamilton, pioneering computer scientist, stands beside Apollo guidance software printouts from her MIT team. A rural general store in Person County, North Carolina, with a vintage Texaco gas pump on the left and old advertising signs for Chesterfield, Old Gold, and Coca-Cola on the wooden storefront. A young girl stands on intricately crafted prosthetic legs, believed to be made by James Gillingham, a pioneering shoemaker and prosthetics maker in Chard, England. Cotton textile mill in Lancashire, England, where workers endured long hours performing repetitive tasks such as spinning and weaving, requiring high physical endurance. Battleship SMS Prince Regent Luitpold capsized and undertow to Rosyth, Scotland for scrapping after being scuttled by her crew at Scapa Flow, and later salvaged for metal. Street scene in San Francisco, California, featuring distinctive Chinatown architecture and Chinese signage, with an ornate Asian-style street lamp centered in the frame. 7 people standing on a massive giant sequoia stump in California, a remnant of an enormous tree cut down in the late 19th century. Children playing in the Gorbals slums of Glasgow, Scotland, improvising games with found materials such as an old bathtub used as a boat and sticks as oars, reflecting harsh post-industrial living conditions. Otto Frank stands at the entrance to the secret annex where his family and others hid for over 2 years during Nazi occupation. The entrance was hidden behind a rotating bookshelf. A child at a city dump in Ambridge, Pennsylvania, during the Great Depression, carrying a basket while scavenging for reusable items among garbage and crates. 2 Barnum and Bailey circus performers pose in front of circus animal wagons, highlighting extreme height contrast. The Cardiff Giant from Wales and a small performer often billed in sideshows. Jewish prisoners after being liberated by U.S. forces from a Nazi death train near Magdeburg, Germany, in 1945, during the final months of World War II. Concorde 001, the first prototype of the famous supersonic airliner, alongside a Citroën DS, a revolutionary French car in design and technology, at Le Bourget Airport, France. Portrait of Maud Wagner, the first known female tattoo artist in the United States, 1907. Women in Tehran, Iran, wearing modern Western-style fashion before the 1979 Islamic Revolution, reflecting the country's period of rapid modernization and cultural openness. An Allied soldier shares his rations with Dutch children during the Hunger Winter in the Netherlands, when food supplies were cut off and civilians faced severe starvation conditions. A man in Bethlehemsgang, a narrow alley in central Amsterdam, Netherlands, located in what is now the city's red light district. A leather-clad man known in Connecticut and New York, wearing a nearly 30 kilograms outfit made entirely from old boot leather pieces stitched together with rawhide. Paris streets severely flooded during the Great Flood of 1910, when the Seine rose to record levels of about 8 meters after heavy rains, submerging the city for over a week. Marilyn Monroe at the Radio City Music Hall premiere of The Prince, and the showgirl in New York, wearing a sleeveless silk evening gown and long gloves. A young woman working in a modest kitchen in the United States during the Great Depression, with simple furnishings, open shelves, and homemade canned food stored in metal containers. A record crowd at Bat Day at Yankee Stadium, New York, 1967, drawing 62,582 fans, most of whom received free wooden baseball bats as part of the event. U.S. Navy Day, October 27, 1945, on the Hudson River in New York, with Navy warships anchored in celebration shortly after the end of World War II. New York City streets after the Great Blizzard of 1899, with melting snow creating slick reflective roads, an E.H. Gates-O Siggers sign visible, and an elevated train passing behind buildings. Victory Parade for the 369th Infantry Regiment, the Harlem Hellfighters, on Fifth Avenue, New York, Feb. 17, 1919, greeted by thousands and welcome home banners. New York City subway system, featuring early city-purchased IND rolling stock, designed to move large passenger volumes quickly, reflecting a utilitarian design approach. North view from 51st Street, showing opulent mansions of New York's elite. Along Fifth Avenue, United States, late 19th century, captured in a historic photograph. Historical scene in Mongolia, showing a woman accused of adultery, confined in a wooden restraint, subjected to harsh punishment in a desert environment. Construction of the Chrysler Building in New York City at 42nd Street and Lexington Avenue, Manhattan, showing its rising steel frame and large cranes lifting materials. Toshiba Shibara Electric Co. View Phone, a video telephone system enabling Tokyo operators and callers to see each other in real time during calls. Neurological experiment by Guillaume Benjamin Amon Duchenne de Boulogne, using electrical stimulation to activate specific facial muscles to study and classify human expressions. An elderly Armenian woman during the early Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, standing in a tense wartime environment while defending her home and community. Fulton Fish Market, Lower Manhattan, New York, featuring a man at the center of a documentary series on Manhattan's transformation and the Fred W. Mullen & Son wholesale seafood sign. Pearl Street in Lower Manhattan, New York City, featuring brick commercial buildings and cobblestone streets, typical of the area's late 19th century urban landscape. James Naismith, credited with inventing basketball, created the game using a soccer ball and 2 peach baskets as the original goals. Krummlauf, a curved barrel developed by Nazi Germany during WE for the STG-44, allowed firing around corners or from cover, but suffered low durability and limited production. Smoke over Manhattan after the September 11, 2001 attacks. Photographed from the International Space Station by astronaut Frank Culbertson, showing the World Trade Center site. A store clerk explains the wartime ration point system to customers. Virginia Walker and Olive Evans, at a department store in New York City, United States. Alice Liddell, muse of Lewis Carroll, c. 1858, depicted as a poor child in tattered clothing, posed in a staged Victorian-era photographic scene. Historic meeting between Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Charlie Chaplin in Bern, Switzerland, during Nehru's visit and Chaplin's exile residence there. Backstage in the dancers' dressing room at the Moulin Rouge in Paris, performers preparing makeup and costumes before a show, reflecting the glamour and artistry of the cabaret era. Fred Rogers sits at the bedside of 7-year-old Beth Usher at Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital in Baltimore, after flying in to visit her ahead of major brain surgery for severe seizures. public school in Valdez, Alaska, with students and teachers standing amid deep snow on rooftops and around the building, showing that heavy snowfall did not close the school. Howard Hughes in the cockpit of the H-4 Hercules Spruce Goose, a giant wooden flying boat built largely of laminated wood during Webuie metal shortages. The Mark Twain giant sequoia, about 1,300 years old and over 100 meters tall, was cut down by the U.S. Army in 1891 and sent to museums in New York and London to prove its size. Residents in Beijing, China, participating in the Four Pests campaign, using sticks, brooms, and pots to make noise and prevent sparrows from landing until they collapsed. A woman flying a kite near Bethesda Terrace, a landmark inside Central Park, New York City, enjoying a leisure moment in the park's open public space. A woman ironing clothes on a makeshift stand made of wooden crates, Minneapolis, Minnesota, United States. At Chicago's Greyhound bus station, passengers waiting for Thanksgiving Travel Watch coin-operated TVs, paying about 25 cents for 15 to 30 minutes of viewing. Actor Ronald Reagan, later the 40th President of the United States, posing as a model for a sculpture class at the University of Southern California. During the collapse of the Soviet Union, a large fallen hammer and sickle symbol lies on the ground as a woman searches through her bag, reflecting daily life amid political upheaval. Norwegian expedition led by Roald Amundsen became the first to reach the South Pole, establishing a camp and raising the Norwegian flag at Polheim. German soldier Dominicus Müller, in a military hospital during treatment after being severely wounded in France in 1917, using medical support equipment for mobility. A barefoot boy stands on a dirt roadside, selling apples to help support his family in North Carolina during the Great Depression in the United States. Air Force OIRAC automatic computer with Mrs. Connie Hodgson, one of 6 human competitors in a speed calculation contest against the machine. A French man tasting Coca-Cola for the first time, showing hesitation and mild dislike toward its unfamiliar sweetness, a common reaction in France at the time. A historical image showing people wearing cone-shaped plastic face masks designed to protect against blizzards, shielding the face from harsh weather while preserving visibility.